John Wick is an action franchise started in 2014 through the wondrous creative vision of Chad Stahelski with a beautifully adapted script by Derek Kolstad. John Wick was not only a breath of fresh air from modern action films. With the usual fast-paced, quick-cut action you can hardly follow even if you have a comprehensive understanding of what's happening in the scene. It was a film masterclass, every element of production in the movie being nigh perfect to create cinematic perfection. Specifically today we're going to be looking at one of the most memorable, not animal abusive scenes in the movie, the Red Circle, or nightclub scene if you're basic and boring. Outside the Red Circle, before their business can be conducted, everything is bathed in a neutral yellowish light. Francis, the bouncer that John knows, is also illuminated under this colour. John confronts him here, stepping out of the dark. There is no conflict under this light, just a mutual understanding as Francis leaves. The door is bathed in blue, and earlier we saw the outside being bathed with a blue and a green, the green being a mix of the outside and inside worlds here, the public and the club. In the club we'll see two main types of lighting focusing on blue in this section. Blue is the club itself, and John Wick is making it his kill zone. From this point on, everything in blue belongs to John. In the bathroom is one of the people that broke into John's house, and one we saw at the servo. His crony gets murdered in the blue light, he's unarmed and only wearing a bathrobe with no help. John is in control here. When John enters the building, he is covered in a light that isn't his own. He doesn't know his surroundings and he is expecting to be ambushed when he enters. As he understands he hasn't been spotted and nobody is around, he walks back into his controlled blue light. In a highly creative shot I might add, through a glass panel illuminated by a blue light we see another one of John's victims splatter. Right after, a henchman enters John, the boogeyman's blue light, and rightly has his soul sucked out of him. Looking through a row of towels, we see John behind in his blue light, the wooden structure separating him from the view and exposure of all the henchmen on the other side. It's right after this John's control of the area fades, and he's shoved into the... The nightclub is called the Red Circle. While mostly bathed in blue, there's an undeniable presence of bright red lighting. Some symbolism for you, with red being the colour of... Well, for simplicity's sake, we'll just call them the Mafia, even if they're not. Back to the kills just before here, the henchman that gets his soul sucked out of him walks out of his red light and into John's blue light, which is what gets him killed. When John is ambushed, he runs into the next henchman's red light, struggles, and then gets literally pushed out of his remaining blue light and into more red light. He is no longer in control. The red light, however, is a spiral light, with parts of blue mixed in as John wins his fight and ends up taking some control over his position. Now in the red, literally, John has to act. He approaches Joseph and is taken by surprise once more by the big burly strong man coming out of the pool and walking John back into the red light, before he's killed and pushed back into the blue pool. John shoots at Joseph as he runs through his red lights, while John is still bathed in his blue. Now John's being shot at, he takes cover in a red light. We get a full reverse shot as he turns around, and now his face is in a soft blue light. All of this with just lighting in around 40 seconds. Do you see why I chose to focus on this one scene now? Holy... John now escapes upstairs to pursue Joseph, and we come to the final... Joseph, running from John, is now onto the dance floor. Almost naked and helpless, he's stuck in John's blue as he gives confusing orders to the henchmen, who have almost no idea what's going on. This leads Joseph to now be exposed in a purple light, his henchman's red only just being able to challenge the piercing blue. It's also worth mentioning that the camera on Joseph is shaky, zooming in and out at random, while it's controlled and steady on John. The flashing lights from behind John serving to confuse Joseph in the scene even more. Yet another example of John Wick's amazing visual storytelling. The lights also periodically turn green here, a minor colour overall that mixes John's pure blue and the outside's yellowish light to highlight all the normal people in the scene getting accidentally involved in this underground crime scene. Two henchmen approach. John guns them down under a green light. There's no purple here, because the confused guards pose no threat. Immediately after, he doesn't know if a threat is coming, so he stands under a harsh purple light. The next scene has a lack of any stylized lighting. Notice that the henchmen still wear red, however. Moving on back into the club, the balcony fight is mainly in blue until the boss of the club shows up. John takes 2 bullets and recovers in the purple. The rest from that point on is in red. And if you remember how red's been used throughout the entirety of this scene,
Victor's dead.
John Wick is an amazing film all round, and this is just one example of how one element was perfectly utilised throughout this one scene. It's the little things that add up after all.